Today's story is Zora Hutchinson and the Chinaberry Tree. This is written by William Miller. From the tree, she could see as far as the lake, as far as the horizon. Zora dreamed of fishing in the lake, catching bream and catfish in the morning. Zora dreamed of seeing the cities beyond the horizon and living there one day. But only boys fished in the lake. Only men traveled to the cities. Zora watched with envy as the wagons rattled down the dusty roads. Her father told her to wear a dress, to leave the tree climbing to those wild boys who had no better way to spend their time. He told her, read the Bible every day, learn the verses that she could recite at Sunday school. He warned her about girls who didn't obey their fathers, girls who didn't grow up to be young ladies. But Zora only listened to her mother. She taught Zora that everything had a voice, the trees, the rushing wind, the stars, and the midnight sky. She taught Zora that the world belonged to her, even the lake, and even the far-off horizon. So Zora went everywhere. She walked into town store. She watched while men played checkers. She asked questions and more questions until the men taught her how to play the game. She followed the boys to the edge of the campfire, and she listened while their father sang about John Henry, a man so strong he swung a 9-pound hammer from dusk till dawn. She learned about Death, the great squared-toe one who lived in the west. Death sat on a platform made of palm leaves and ruled with a sword in his hand. Zora learned about Africa, the place where she and her people came from. In Africa, they had been kings and queens, builders of cities that stood for thousands of years. They worshipped gods who ruled the sky, the mountains, the rivers, and even the stormy sea. And one morning, Zora's mother did not feel well. She told Zora not to worry, that soon she would be well again. She told Zora, go outside and play, and climb your favorite tree. But Zora couldn't play. She saw how tired her mother was, and she saw the pain in her eyes. Day after day, Zora sat beside her mother's bed, telling her stories she had heard beside the campfire. Her mother smiled and asked Zora always to remember what she had learned. Stories, she said, kept their people alive, and as long as they were told, Africa would live in their hearts. Zora promised that she would remember. Zora's mother slowly got worse. Men and women came to sit with her through the long, hot nights. The town doctor came. He gave her pills, and he shook his head. He walked sadly away. Even the root doctor tried his magic. He rubbed snake oil and mustard salve on her face. He burned a tall white candle beside her bed. But nothing worked. Zora was sitting in the parlor when her father told her she would not see her mother again. Zora felt as if she had died, and she watched while the old people stopped the clocks, put sheets on the mirrors. She watched while the women cried, and she stared at their Sunday shoes. But then she could sit still no longer. Zora ran from the house, and she ran all the way to the Chinaberry tree. She climbed the first branch, and then the next, and then the next, until she had climbed almost to the top of the tree. The sparrow sang to her in a voice like her mother's, and the sparrow told her, do not give up. Climb even higher. And from the top of the tree, Zora saw again the world her mother had given her. The lake filled with fish, the cities where she would tell people all she'd learned besides campfires. Zora promised her mother she would never, ever stop climbing. She would always reach for the newborn sky, and she would always jump at the morning sun. The end. Now, a note from the author. Zora Hurston was born in 1891. She grew up in Eatonville, Florida, and she was the first all-black incorporated town in America. At an early age, she was exposed to the rich oral tradition of her community, stories, songs, and folktale that celebrated the African-American life. Zora attended Howard University and Barnard College, where she studied anthropology. She traveled throughout the South, recording folktales of her people. She published these stories in a collection called Mules and Men. Zora was the author of many works of fiction. Her most favorite words, their eyes were watching God. This is the classic of African American literature. I hope you enjoyed it.